Hi, my name is Vanessa Hayes. Welcome to my studio. Today we will be painting a winter scene. The paper we're using is Soho 25% cotton block. It's a size 5x7. I've taped the edges for a clean border. I'm wetting the upper half of the paper with my number 2 squirrel mop. As you can see, the paper is very wet. All of my paints I'm using today are from Daniel Smith. So with my number 12 Princeton Velvet Touch, I'm dropping in Mayan dark blue for the distant trees. I'm letting it bleed into the wet surface for atmosphere. Now I'm adding in Cascade Green to fade into the background trees. Cascade Green is one of my favorite greens. It has a granulating effect and it's a beautiful color separation. I'm adding in a little more concentrated Cascade Green, and I'm adding some undersea green into the middle ground trees for depth and shadow. The heavier body of the paint helps to add more detail as we move closer to the foreground. I feel like the sky needs a little more work, so I'm dropping in some more Mayan dark blue into the sky area. I'm lifting out some of the paint over the tops of the trees to separate the trees from the sky, but still leaving a soft transition. The paper is still very wet, so it's allowing everything to blend softly. With clean water, I'm softening up the lines underneath the trees to give some shadows on the snow and keeping it very light. These shadows and the brush strokes help to show the way the snow is laying on the ground. So you want to make sure and give some directionality. I like to add a pale wash of color to the edges where it's taped for distinction when I remove the tape. And drop in a little more shadow right here underneath this tree. And we'll just bring that across. I'm using a small palette knife to run through the wet paint to make some indications of tree trunks. If you do this while the paint is very wet, the paint will fill in the lines and they become dark. If the paint is damp, you should get lighter lines. This technique is permanent, so make sure you're careful when you're using this technique. And we're just darkening up some of the shadows around the trees with Perylene Green. And Perylene Green is a lovely dark green with some blue undertones. It's perfect for shadows in the trees. Again, the paper is still very wet, so it's blending nicely. No harsh lines. Now let's dry off the foreground so we can add the fence. I'm using my straight edge so I can add just an indication of where I want to put my fence post. Now, since the fence is going away from us, we want to make the posts that go away in the distance smaller than the ones that are closest to us. So I'm just roughly sketching it in where I want the post to be. And using my number 4 Princeton Aqua Elite long round, I'm painting in the fence post using burnt umber. This brush is long, it holds a lot of paint, and it has a great pointed tip for any detail work. The light source is coming from behind the fence to the right, so I'm painting the right side slightly lighter, and I'll get lighter and smaller on the distance posts. When painting the rail of the fence, I'm only painting the bottom of the rail, as the top is covered with snow. I will paint fairly straight line on the bottom and then scallop pattern just under where the snow would be. And again, less saturation of color and less detail as you move to the rails that are farther away from us. Now I'm dropping in a little shadow colors to the snow on the top of the fence rails. With this, we're trying to distinguish the snow on the rails from the background snow. And I've decided to add a little pop of color. So with my small detail brush, I'm going to add some cardinals. And the color I'm using is Perylene Red. They're so small, so you don't need much detail, just a basic shape of the birds. I think I'll put one in flight right here. And just a few more touches. After I removed the tape and came back to the painting, I realized I forgot my shadows from the fence. So using the Mayan dark blue, I add the shadows. Then I decided that the snow on the fence was not quite bright enough. So I'm using Dr. P.H. Martin Bleed Proof White to put a little more white on the snow on the fence. Now I believe we're done. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.